Welcome to the Limitless Entrepreneur Podcast, your weekly dose of strategies and mindset tools to build a business in alignment with your purpose and get you playing a bigger game. I'm your host, Nicole. Hello, and welcome to the Limitless Entrepreneur Podcast, everybody. We're all here together. I'm excited. We've got some fun things planned for this episode that I think are going to shed some light on, definitely on productivity, definitely on maybe why you feel the way that you feel based on your human design chart. So I'm going to show you, again, we're always about giving you the practical applications to things like what you see in your human design chart, and some of that stuff can seem very, very confusing. We're here to demystify it, to bring it down to earth for you and be like, this is why you're feeling this way. This is how you deal with it. We're actually giving you the steps. That's the goal with this show. And today is going to be a really impactful one because this is something that I use. We're going to be talking about definition in the chart, not centers definition. We're actually going to be talking about split versus single definition and all the different types. So if you see that on your chart where it says definition type, and then it tells you that you're a split, you're a triple split or whatever, we're going to talk about that. It's actually a very key element in your chart, and it doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion. And so we're going to demystify that for you today. But first, I have a few announcements, a couple of things that are going on. One, if you haven't downloaded your human design chart, we give you a free advanced chart on my website, and I encourage you to go and download our version, because you also, when you opt into our email list after you download that chart, after you run that chart, you will be able to, you will actually get a video tailored to your type. So no matter what type you are, you'll get a video from me where I'm explaining it in the way that I explain things. Just a really actionable, usable definition and way that you can be looking at your particular human design type. So go and download that at nicolelano.me/chart. We also have some free guides that you can get to as well. We'll link all of that up in the show notes for you. We have a productivity guide, or a float activity guide, as I call it, and a deconditioning guide. Both of those we will link up in the show notes for you. We also have a free masterclass coming up on March 8th, and I want you guys to flag your calendar, mark the date. There will be replays available, but I suggest that you be there live, because if you get to be there live on Zoom with me, you get to talk to me, we get to have, Q&A, little questions answered, and the energy is just so much better when you are live. And I gotta say, I'm pretty good when I'm live, so it's a treat for us all to be there together. So I encourage you all to come, like at a party. This masterclass is geared toward how plateaued entrepreneurs can more than 2x their revenue while working less. So I have clients who have gone well beyond 2xing their revenue just by the work that we've done together. And I'm going to show you the framework that we've used to create those results. And it's going to be breaking down your human design chart, the things that we look at there, and just the whole process that I go through, the framework that I go through in taking somebody from being overworked and in hustle mode, and being able to not just pull back, but pull back and make more. Because there can be that belief that if I stop or if I slow down, then the revenue will dry up. That is actually not true. And I'm not just going to tell you to reframe that belief, although that's fun. I'm actually going to show you ways that you can look at your human design chart, change the way you operate, so that that belief actually is no longer true and you see it play out in your world. So we'll be doing that in the masterclass. Go to nicolelano.me/masterclass and register for free. This is one of the free ones that I'm doing. I don't do free masterclasses all that often anymore. I've done a lot of paid ones, and this is a free one. So I suggest you get in. It's going to be super fun. Okay. And the last thing we have a contest going on where if you review this show, take a snapshot, a screenshot of that review on iTunes, put it in your Instagram stories, and tag me at Nicole Lano Official, you get entered into a contest to be picked to have a human design reading or coaching session here on the show. So you get to actually have a live coaching session with me and be on the podcast. So if podcast guesting is something on your list for 2023 for visibility, then you can check that off the box. And if you're wondering why you are stuck, stalled, plateaued, or wondering how you can use your design to get more out of yourself without actually having to do more, or there's some shifts that you want to make, something you're not understanding and you're wondering how HD plays into it, then you also get that. So how awesome is that? And how easy is it that it's just a matter of leaving a review for a show you already love, tagging me on Instagram, and then you're entered into the contest. If you've already entered and you've put in a review, the way that you enter, we run this every month. So we take entries and we're compiling them every month. So this would be for the month of February. You take, instead of taking the picture of the review, which you already left, if you've already left a review, just take a screenshot of an episode of the show that you're enjoying. It might be this episode. Screenshot it, put it in your Instagram stories, tell us why you loved it, and tag me. And that will be your entry. So we already know who's left reviews because you've submitted them before. So we've got you covered there. So that would be your entry if you've already done that. So do that so that we can sit down and we can dive into your chart together. So without further ado, let's get into the episode, shall we? Let's do this. Let's talk about split definition, single definition, and all the other definitions. So first of all, let's just kind of carve out what it is, what it means to have definition. So definition in the chart is anything you see colored in, right? Definition is anything that you see colored in. Definition can be colored in, you can see the centers, which are the big shapes on your chart. It can be the channels. If those are colored in, that is a defined channel for you. Those are the little roads that connect all of the centers together. If you see a number inside one of the centers that is colored in, then that would be a gate that's defined. All of this is what we call definition, okay? And the definition in your chart, it will all either connect or it won't. So when we're referring to definition as what type of definition do you have in your chart? The type of definition that you have is either it's going to be one of these types. So it's referring to how energy moves within your chart. So we have single definition. So if you look at yours and it says single, that means that energy flows continuously from every defined center in your chart. Your definition in your chart is singular. It all flows. If you have your ajna, your throat, your G center, and your spleen defined, those are your defined centers, there would be channels connecting all of them together where energy would flow from one to the other. There would be free-flowing energy throughout. There would be no break in it, okay? All of those centers would be able to speak to each other, so to speak, okay? So that'd be single definition. Then we have something called split definition simple or split definition small. They mean the same thing. Different charts sometimes refer to them differently. Means the same thing. What that means is there is a break in your definition. Now, all the rest of them are going to be a different type of split. There's going to be single. There's going to be large or wide. Again, means the same thing, but two ways that you might see it on a chart. There's going to be triple split. And then there's quadruple split. Now, what's the difference between all of these? I get this question a lot because there's not a ton of information about it online. Not many people talk about it, but it has a lot to do. Your definition is going to determine a lot of how you operate, what you struggle with, how you process information. Now, I want you to think about that from a standpoint of, now if you had say you have your head, your ajna and your throat defined, and there's let's say you have the 1156 channel that connects them. Any of those three channels there, the 2343, the 1156, the 6217, any of those would connect the ajna to the throat. So that would be, they're defined, and there's this pathway where the ajna can speak to the throat can speak to the ajna. Now, then you go down to the G center, and then maybe have your emotional center defined, the solar plexus, and the ego. But now the throat does not connect to the G center, not to the ego, and not to the solar plexus. But the G center, the ego, and the solar plexus connect to each other somehow. They somehow speak to each other. Now, if that were the case, then you would have this split between, and I look at them like islands of definition. It would mean that 3 centers in your chart speak to each other, but they don't speak to the other 2. You have 5 total. 3 talk to each other, 2 talk to each other, but all 5 cannot communicate consistently. There needs to be a bridge built in order for them to consistently speak to each other. So what we see here is when you have a small split, you're going to have one gate that could make it all work, that could make them all speak to each other. If you had that one gate, then all of it would flow seamlessly. Now, when we're looking at human design and when we're talking about human design, I always want to make it really clear. And this is meant to be empowering, and you should look at your chart in a very empowering way. I have a small split, and my split, I believe it's 7 gates, 6 or 7. I forget because there's so many. I know what they are, but I forget the number. But I have a small split, and what that really means to me is that I need people. If you have a split in your definition, what that really means is that you're going to need other people. Relationships are going to be really key for you. That things are going to spark and fly when you are connected to people. Why? Because those people are going to add to your energy. Now, does that mean as a single definition that you can't benefit from people being around? Of course you can. It's going to be about different things though. Single definition people are going to process information very quickly. They're going to want to move quickly. They can also be kind of inherently selfish and not in a bad way, but just their energy isn't looking for anything else. They're kind of this self-contained unit. So it's just a different way of living. They're not looking to the outside world. And they may feel like the outside world might move slowly for them. This can also lead to people feeling overwhelmed by all their energy. If you're a single definition and you have a lot of divine centers especially, that can feel like things move really fast, and it can sometimes feel like a lot. So the work for those people is going to be making sure all those healthy centers are defined. All those defined centers are healthy. I reversed that, excuse me there. Making sure all of those defined centers are healthy. And then making sure you're following strategy and authority and paying attention to how you operate. And if you feel like your energy is getting ahead of you, like things are moving too fast and you don't know what to do with all of your energy, because we see that a lot with these people who have single definition. They can tend to be overwhelmed. They can tend to be really intense. Like there's a lot going on when they have quite a few centers defined. Especially if those centers are motors. So it all depends on what centers they are. So this is why your unique chart is so unique. It's so individual to you, because I'll make some statements, but your chart is going to determine how this shows up for you and what flavor this shows up for you in. With a small split, because it's this one gate, because it's this one thing, I have like I said, 6 or 7 gates that will bridge my split. So that's 6 or 7 ways that I can be complete. And that can be the way that it feels. I can feel like things are missing, and I did for a very long time. I felt like things were missing from me, and I went to try to find and be those things. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a huge energy suck. And so knowing that relationships are going to be important to me, that I'm not meant to fill all of these gaps, that I'm actually going to attract the right people to me who fill the gaps for me, and they'll do it better. And somehow I will be showing them. Because if you're a split definition, if you're particularly a simple split or a small split, we're here to show the people who don't need relationships that they do. We're here to show the single definition people that there's more to life than themselves, and to open them up to things outside of their world and their internal world. So that, that's where, this is how we all play off of each other. And when we're all in alignment, when we're operating in alignment, we help other people find their alignment. So your alignment is good for you, but it's good for everybody around you. And this is how. Because we start to influence each other in the correct ways. And we start to send each other on the right direction in our journey by being correct ourselves. That's the ripple effect. Now there's also triple split, which would mean that you have 3 islands of definition. There's more than one break. So your head and your ajna might be defined, but they don't speak to the throat. And then the throat and the G center might be defined, but they don't speak to your ego, solar plexus, and root that are defined. Typically triple splits, not always, but typically they have a lot of definition. Sometimes they don't. Most of the time we see that with people who have 7, 8, and even 9 centers defined. But it doesn't have to be that way. And then we have quadruple split, which means these people typically have 8 or 9 centers defined. We see this with people who have like the whole chart colored in. They will have a quadruple split sometimes. This is very, very rare to have a quad split. Now, triple split, quad split, what that's going to feel like is multiple voices speaking in your head. And this is true for all the splits. You feel like there's this conversation happening inside of you that is happening at the same time sometimes, but like the 2 sides can't hear each other, or it can take a while for the message to be received from one island of your definition to the other. So for example, if particularly we see this with people who have, if you're a generator or a manifesting generator, and your sacral is defined, but the sacral doesn't actually have a connection to the throat. So I'm a manifesting generator who has a sacral, I have a sacral defined. I have a motor to the throat, but my motor is the ego, and my G center, my solar plexus, and my sacral they're all connected and speak to each other. And then my ego, my spleen, and my throat can speak to each other. The disconnect here is I'm in response all the time with my sacral, but it doesn't actually connect to my throat. They don't talk to each other. So sometimes I can get in my head about what I'm responding to, how do I find the words? Where do I put it out? And learning to work with this type of dynamic within ourselves is what self-mastery is about. This is how we can take the information that's in our chart and we can use it as a map for our own personal journey to self-mastery. And not only understanding ourselves, but understanding how we operate so we can operate differently. So we're in alignment with who we are, and we're in alignment. We know where the turns are, where the potholes are in our design, and we know how to get past them. And not just past them for the time, but we know where they are. We stop seeing them as this great this great hindrance on our success. They actually, when you can shift and start seeing the things that you view as weakness now as just strengths that might be in shadow frequency, then you will start to see rapid development and rapid change in your life, and the way that and what you're able to get done and how you do it, and the way people come to you, the way people react to you. Because what we're talking about here is we're talking about energetic alignment. When you are in alignment with who you are, you start to attract the people. And it's not just like I attract my ideal client, because of course, you know, we get that concept. I'm going to talk about it in a little bit more of like a existential kind of a little bit more collective sort of fashion. But we're all energetically connected. So if you think about it, that when you tune yourself to the frequency that you are meant to be tuned to, by operating correctly, by not following shadows down a path that don't serve you, by waiting rather than running, when moving on the correct things and not feeling like you need to be in perpetual motion all the time, then you're tuning yourself to a frequency that the people you're meant to connect with in life will connect with you. So one of the gates that I have that bridges my split that is kind of, I have gate 1 in the G center, and then I don't have gate 8, which is the other side of that channel, in the throat center. And that would bridge my split. So gate 8 would bridge my split. Now, gate 1 is self-expression. I want creative self-expression. This has always been a huge driver in my life, wanting to creatively express who I am. That's gate 1. Gate 8 is being able to promote that. So looking at it like the gate 1 would be like the artist, gate 8 would be like the agent, the manager, the person that's going out there being like, hey, you know why this is great? The person that's going out there and talking the talk to tell everybody why the artist's work is so amazing. I don't have gate 8. So is it correct for me to go out there and try to be gate 8? I did that for a long time. I did that for a really long time. No, my job is not to be gate 8, not to be the thing that I'm not to work so hard that I become that. No, my job is to be so deeply aligned in gate 1 and open to gate 8 coming into my world, someone who has that energy. And that was an intention that I set. I was like, I want to fill these quote unquote gaps. I'm looking to attract and connect with energetically the people who will seamlessly make these things sing for me. I want gate 8 in my world. I just don't need to be that thing. I don't need to show up as that person. So, and I did. I attracted the exact person. That's the mentor I'm working with right now, Rebecca Cathiro. She is my gate 8. She is my person who's out there building up, allowing me to live in gate 1, and she's handling the gate 8, her and her team, which is so powerful because it frees me up to be everything that I am, because I'm not obsessed with trying to be what I'm not. And that's what splits do. Splits end up with a small split. We think we're the problem. We think there's something missing from us. Triple split, quad split, large split, wide split, same thing. It's going to be, you're going to look at probably other people in the outside world as having the problem. Maybe you need to fix things. Activism. I need to fix this. I need to do this. I need to change this. Or just blaming can come from that. You're looking at the rest of the world as needing to fill this gap rather than you. And all of them just require shifts in the way that we view ourselves, in the way that we operate, what we're looking for, and ways of relating to ourselves. So this is exactly what we work through in the Limitless Entrepreneur Program, my flagship program. This is the work that we do to get you into alignment. So you're attracting the correct people. You're starting to look at yourself as powerful and perfect as you are, and looking at raising your vibration of everything that you are, rather than trying to figure out how you could be all the things that you're not. I will say this, if you have a small split and you have lots of them like I do, it can feel like you're pulled in 18 different directions. It can feel like lots of things are missing. You can perpetually be on like the personal development journey and feel like you could never be full. I'm here to tell you that is a false feeling. It's a feeling, but it's a false belief. That's actually not how. You need to change the way that you're looking at yourself. You need to change your relationships to those things that you view as being missing. And no amount of belief clearing can do that. You need to look at yourself a bit differently. And that's what's so amazing about the chart. You look at the chart and it's like confirmation of all of these things. I've done tons of readings recently, and this feeling that people get in those readings where they're like, you know, I've known this stuff. I can't believe you're telling me everything that I thought I wanted to talk about. You just told me in my chart without knowing anything about me. You know, people feeling like they're being seen for the first time. And that's wonderful to feel seen. We all want that. But what's even more powerful is that you see yourself differently through a different perspective all of a sudden. Like, I'm supposed to be like this. Oh, And that thing I've been doing for all of these years, I actually don't need to do that. I don't need to be that. I don't need to put energy into that anymore. It gives you permission to stop pushing yourself to be something that you're not. To stop feeling like you need to be fixed, because you don't need to be fixed. You just need to change your relationship to yourself and aspects of who you are. Just because the outside world told you that this was the right way does not mean that it's the right way for you. And that's a really powerful way of looking at yourself and a really powerful shift that you can make in your life. So I hope you got value out of this. I hope you liked this episode. I hope that this sheds some light on definition and what it could mean for you. If you want to dive in deeper, you can certainly book a human design reading with me. I do those all the time. Go to my website, go to the work with me section of nicoleleno.me, and we can set you up with that. There'll be a little link there where you can book a reading. We also have that masterclass coming up, how to up to 2x your revenue, how plateaued entrepreneurs can up to 2x their revenue while working less using my proven HD formula and framework. That will be March 8th. Please sign up for that. Go to nicoleleno.me/masterclass and you can sign up for free there. If you have any questions, if you thought great things about this episode, if you thought terrible things about this episode, no matter what you thought about the episode, I would love to know how this hit you, what shifts it helped inspire you to make. If you have questions, hit me up on Instagram, hit me up on Instagram in the DMs, and I will gladly answer them for you. So listen, I hope that you had a great day. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Remember, you are limited only by the limitations that you accept. And when you stop accepting those limitations, that is when you become limitless. So go out there and be limitless, everyone. I will see you in the next episode.
If you loved this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this podcast. And if you want to stay in touch with us, we would love to have you as a part of our Facebook community, Practical Manifestors. It's a community for process-driven women looking for clear and actionable steps to embodying a life of wealth and alignment. Join us at Practical Manifestors in Facebook or go to www.innerceogroup.com.